personally, I am a sucker for overcommitment. I've talked about this on the show. I literally teach a course called Overcoming Overcommitment because I needed to to figure that out for myself. And so I teach some techniques for how to do that. But it took me a long time to admit to myself that the real reason that I feel bad about saying no when people ask me to do something wasn't because I'm just such a good person and like I'm just so godly that I love serving people. Because for a long time, I often patted myself on the back for being overly busy. I would say, man, wow, what a faithful servant you are, Reagan. And this was especially true when it came to serving at church. I would very often absolutely just lay myself flat out with overcommitment. And I would justify that by telling myself that I was just being faithful. Here's an example. I've always been into making videos ever since I was a kid. And so at my church growing up, I often did videos for the church. And it was like my ministry there. But anytime they'd ask me to do something, I'd say yes. And I would just do it. And I was doing it for free. I was doing it because I was a kid. I had lots of free time. But I would say yes to all this stuff. And then I would frequently pull all-nighters to finish them in time. And I'd miss school. I'd do all this stuff. And I knew going into it that I didn't have enough time to do it. But I would tell myself, well, that's just me making a sacrifice. I'm just being faithful. But the truth was that I mostly was saying yes because I wanted people to like me. I didn't want to disappoint them. And the things that I usually said yes to, it would be the visible ministries that I would gravitate towards. I wanted people to be impressed by my faithfulness. I wanted flashy faithfulness. I wanted to be a conspicuous Christian. As much as we might complain about being really busy, we're often choosing to be busy. And frequently the reason we choose to be busy is because we want people to think that we're being faithful. It's conspicuous Christianity very frequently. For believers in Jesus Christ, very often the reason we choose to be overcommitted, we choose to be busy, we choose to say yes to stuff that we really should say no to, isn't because we're seeking to serve other people. It's mainly because we want people to think that we're godly. And faithfulness is good stewardship. But sometimes we want to show off our good stewardship. And that's where acting busy comes in. If people see that I'm doing lots of things, then, I must be being faithful. And that's a trap. The busy minister, the busy mom, the busy worker, it doesn't matter who you are. Faithfulness isn't measured by how much you do. And that is the productivity tie-in here. It would just be awful if we became more efficient hypocrites, if we just were able to manage our time so well that we could do all of these great things for the wrong reason. That would be the absolute worst outcome I could think of, is if you leverage the resources of redeeming productivity to learn to manage your time better, only to make you a more effective hypocrite. What an awful outcome. Because at the end of the day, conspicuous Christianity, what do you get for it? A worthless reward. You've heard that expression, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Well, that actually is the perfect summary of conspicuous Christianity. It is a stupid game of self-aggrandizement, and it leads to a worthless reward. Jesus says in Matthew 6:2, "Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward." How silly it would be if we pursued productivity to the point of burnout, all so that we could have other people praise us. What a worthless reward. So much better to serve faithfully, yes, to manage your time well, yes, to be productive in love and good works and in faithfulness to God, but to do it from a heart that purely desires to see God glorified and God honored. That is true productivity. That is eternally minded productivity, because it doesn't look to other people for that reward of, people thought I was holy, people thought I was spiritual. That's the reward the Pharisees got. And that's it. What I want is that well done, good and faithful servant. I want the reward that does not burn up in the fire. I want the reward that moth cannot eat, that rust cannot destroy. I want the commendation of the King of Kings himself. That's why I care about productivity. And that's why it's not just about getting stuff done. It's about doing it for the right reasons. And the right reason is you do everything you do for the glory of God. If you do that, the reward is great. And it's worth every sacrifice because you're doing it for Jesus Christ and you're doing it in his power.